Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. I thought I would sit down and do another video for you guys and gals, but let me give you guys forearm shot first. Forearms are on point. Of course, it was back in bicep day earlier, which you guys saw. You know, here's the thing. I get a lot of clients, and I've had 2 of them in the last month who say, hey, I'm getting good results. Can I start training every day? Can I start training twice a day? Can I train 7 days a week? And I always tell them, I'm like, no, that's ridiculous. And just to give you guys an example, I'm going to flip in a client here. That's Justin. Very openly been a client of mine for a long time. Pretty much 5-year client. Okay, I coached Justin for 5 years. He was doing way more volume and more training when he hired me versus the 5 years that I had him. And we've made progress. We've made gains. He's been training over a decade, right? We still made progress, and yet here's the thing. I took his training volumes down. He trained for most of the time I've had him 4 days a week, but then about a year ago he said, hey, can I go down to 3 days a week? Because it's the trouble of getting to the gym. I don't mind really long workouts. I don't mind being there an hour and a half, 2 hours if I have to, but getting to and from the gym's a problem. Can we do 3 days? We did 3 days, and guess what? He still made gains. He still made gains. So when I get clients or other people who say stuff like, I want to train every day, like, why? Do you really think you're going to get more progress? You think you're going to get more gains? Keep in mind, remember when I did everyday training, I eventually burned out. Do you guys recall? I did training every day. Of course, I took deload weeks because I traveled at the time. Was in a long distance relationship, so I had to go travel, like about 8 times a year. So I took those weeks off, but I did about 6 months barring those deloads. But what started happening? Even taking 5 days off from training at a time, I eventually started getting serious overtraining signs. I am now bigger. I've hit bigger lifts, training less, and I'm now more jacked than when I trained every day. Okay? Right? So why would I go back and do that? Why would I prescribe that to a client? The reality is, barring a few pro bodybuilders, I would never even say 6 days is good. And the people who train 6 days a week who are pro bodybuilders, a few of them have done it. I mean, Ronnie Coleman did it or whatever. Arnold Schwarzenegger did it. But notice that I always say they probably didn't have to do that. Those guys could have trained less and still been Mr. Olympia. Arnold Schwarzenegger said the same thing. He said, I probably overtrained. I probably could have been just as good, if not better, doing less training than I did. And I'm not going to go into all the stuff with Ronnie Coleman, but Ronnie is kind of an aberration in and of itself. But even then, those guys who did 6, did you see them doing 7? Did they train every day? No. These were some of the highest volume Mr. Olympias. Now keep in mind with Ronnie though, he trained 6 days a week, but do you guys remember how short his workouts were? I remember him saying, I usually try to get done in about 45 minutes. All right, so he's training 6 days a week, but for 45 minutes. Same amount of gym time that someone would get with an hour and a half Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Okay? Arnold was kind of an outlier, but he was on a lot of stuff. That's been pointed out many times, but again, you've got to look at genetics. Copious amounts of anabolics and great genetics. Look at what the guy looked like as a teenager. The guy at 16, 17 years old had a better physique than most of us are ever going to have. Okay? He couldn't have been training that long. Not like he started at 2. The guy had a better physique than most guys who've been training a decade who use gear while he was 16 years old. Just throwing that out there. A little bit of an aberration, but even then they didn't train every day. I have seen countless guys who train 3 or 4 days a week with great physiques. I'm only doing 5 so that I can split stuff up and have each body part get worked at the start of a workout so that it's not fatigued later in it. Okay, so I do 5 right now, but that's extreme for me. And I would say to most people, 5 is extreme. What does my lifestyle have to look like to do that? You guys know that I pretty much don't even eat processed food for the most part. My diet is all whole foods. I load tons of fruits and vegetables. I eat like 300 grams of protein a day. I sleep 8 to 10 hours every night. Okay? I'm getting away with 5 right now. I have a couple clients who do, but by and large, most of my clients train 3 to 4 days a week. And I have seen countless examples of people who train 3 days a week who still had impressive physiques. Like, I feel like eventually I might one day go over to just 3 day a week training one day. I very well might. I just like the 5 because, again, it's my business. I'm really working hard on physique. So I'm taking it from my normal 4 up to 5. I've been doing 4 for years. But I feel like even the advantages of me doing that is relatively minuscule, and it only probably works. Oh, we got the forearm vein again. It probably only works because my lifestyle is really dialed in for it. Okay, it's really dialed in. So again, we come over to that question: why do people want to do this? They get this idea, well, I'll lose fat faster if I lift more. No, you won't. Why don't you go do some cardio? Like, if your goal is calorie burn. So I told one of my guys this morning, he's like, hey, could I start training twice a day? I'm going to have a lot of free time this summer, right? Got tons of free time, way more free time. I can have my sleep and recovery on point. Can I start training twice a day? And I'm like, no. It's like, well, because he's trying to cut. He's trying to get leaner. And I'm like, why don't you just walk more? Why don't you just add an extra hour of low intensity cardio every day? Just do that, and let's keep training like 4 days a week like we're doing, okay? Why don't we do that? It would be a lot better. And I think that's the idea. People think they're going to lose fat faster, but weightlifting is not the fastest way to lose fat or burn calories. And now, granted, the studies are showing they're fairly equal for fat loss, but again, you have to recover from the lifting, okay? You're not stimulating extra muscle growth. Like, if you're doing it to burn calories to get more ripped, or you're creating a calorie deficit with it, you're probably not building extra muscle. And again, if you're not recovering, you're reducing your muscle growth. If you're doing a calorie deficit, it's not an efficient use of your time or your recovery resources. We get injured easier when we're cutting. Same thing when we're trying to grow. We're only going to respond to so much training volume, okay? That downtime is what keeps us in the game longer. It allows our joints, it allows our tendons, everything else to recover. That's why I don't like 6-day push-pull legs or so. I don't like people training 6 days a week because oftentimes your tendons and joints are not getting the recovery they need. Even if your muscles are recovering, you're doing extra work for no benefit. And to me, that's ludicrous. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.